this a year ago, so we thought we'd come back. Last year I did it with Richard Myson. This year I'm doing it with Stuart, who joined us 1st of September. So Stuart's going to do the first half, and then I'll come in for the second half.
Thanks, Stephen. Good evening, everybody. We'll stick to the half an hour. I'm sure you're keen to have a few drinks. Like David, I used to be 10 stone. Unlike David, I didn't work in the restaurant business. It was financial services, so I have no excuse for that. I joined Xpediator in September, 1st September. So it's been quite a journey so far. Like you, I asked these questions after private equity and financial services. Why transport? Why Xpediator? Well, why transport? Well, as I travelled around Romania, Lithuania, and most parts of the UK in previous roles, you see lots of lorries moving things about. And most of that's consumer-led. And we believe and see the facts that demand for transport is high. That's led by macro consumers, etc., demanding things being moved around the country, etc. It's an extremely fragmented marketplace. There are lots of small, medium-sized, family-owned businesses across the whole supply chain. Another reason why Xpediator is because we came to market in August 2017 with a buy and build strategy. And as you'll see, we've done a few acquisitions over that period and look to continue that. We operate in Central and Eastern Europe and in the UK. 70% of our business is outside of UK, and as Stephen will come on to explain, Brexit may be a good opportunity for us. So rather than a downer, you should be a bit optimistic about this share when you're thinking about that. E-commerce, that's one of our pillars. Again, that's driven by consumer demand. You'll see the amount of last mile couriers going around the country. People expect and want services. The traditional retailer is still there. He's just not on the high street. He's moved to a more e-commerce model. So that's why transport. Why Xpediator? Well, I met with the board and Stephen, and I spent about 3.5 hours at a service station with him, and he still hasn't paid me the £60 he owes me for the charge. Okay, we'll split the difference. And I was impressed with the energy, the experience and knowledge that he has in this sector and the team that he had behind him. And, you know, it's a leap, some people say a leap from financial services to transport services, but it's all about getting things right. And I saw the fundamental building blocks in this company that made me think, you know, I'd like to be part of that. So not much arm twisting, not much negotiation. Joined as CFO, as I said. It's an asset-light model, Xpediator. Again, I got my head around that. Well, surely you're moving stuff around the country, you're moving stuff internationally. How do you do that without trucks? Well, we don't own trucks. We don't own warehouses. It's more of a broker model around that. It's moving things around for others in either full or half load and groupage methods. I see, as I say, that long tail of smaller businesses, some family owned. Again, a very private equity type approach I took to it of, well, these are going to need consolidating and you need a platform. Steve and his team have built that platform. The benefit of the platform is, as you add onto it, there's lots of synergies to be had, and I think we can start realising those. And as you see in the second half, hopefully the results come through of a lot of those acquisitions in place. But it's not just buying and building for size and scale. Scale brings you buying power, and that's important to have with your partners, customers, suppliers, and those relationships where margins are quite tight and you're a big player and you can drive the price that you're doing. And also within the expanding group, as you see, we'll come on to see the 4 pillars or 4 divisions that we have. There are lots of cross-selling opportunities. And again, as you see in the figures for the first half, 50% of the growth in the revenue has been through organic growth. So the structure, focus on Central and Eastern Europe, as I said. I've been touring around Romania, Lithuania, I'm going to Bulgaria, we're going to Estonia tomorrow, looking at those operations. And again, you see high demand in those areas, which is supported by the GDP growth, and you see good growth opportunities there. So those 4 divisions I mentioned, the first pillar being freight forwarding, moving stuff around the country internationally on other people's trucks, be that through land, by road, train, or by sea and air. We're predominantly by road and strong as say through the Baltic and Eastern European regions. E-commerce is a division that Stephen will speak about a little bit later, but that's kind of one of the engines of growth in the portfolio of the company. And again, that's being led by consumer demand. So we need to be there in the forefront of that. Transport services, this is a fantastic business called Affinity. That operates predominantly in Romania. It's a fuel card service, very much almost like a lending model to smaller hauliers. We use credits services to do that, and collection of money, good margin business, highly cash generative. We need to move that into other areas and put ancillary services on that. And then finally, logistics and warehousing, exactly what it says on the tin. Supply chain management, warehouses, operation of. And the higher value you can get through there are things like picking and packing, etc., for customers, rather than just storage. You know, as Stephen keeps saying, you know, the most expensive thing we transport or store is space, air. So we try and avoid that if we can. It's highly cash generative, although working capital is a particular focus of the business. There's very little debt. We've got a few facilities in place, but we haven't got any structural debt, and that could be an area for us to look at. But we're trying, and we'll do a progressive dividend policy, as you'll see in the numbers. We paid some out the half year, and we'll be doing that at full year. There's a Brexit fearers map. However, again, like David, I just missed it, but Stephen, I don't think minds, he remembers pre-EU and operated pre-EU successfully. So we've got no fears around that. 940 plus employees spread across all those sites. Many of them long-term employees have grown with the business. And it's actually quite exciting when you go around and talk to them, the level of detail and also the level of loyalty they have to the company, which is a good sign. You know, there's good culture within the business. Concentration risk, we've got a slide on that, but no one's greater than 2%, so we haven't got that customer default risk, and we use over 3,000 hauliers. These are the, I suppose, the CFO's slide. Financial highlights, revenue up, all the kind of positive metrics as shareholders you'd probably like to see. Operating profit up, PBT up, earnings per share up, and dividend up. So pretty good. Not a bad half year to come and present. If I can keep that up, that'll be quite something over 3-5 years. But there is definitely room for further growth. As you see, organic growth there, nearly half, and the acquisitions have contributed half the revenue there as well. As I mentioned, a few customers there you may know of, providing services for those, and there's limited customer concentration risk, you know, with 2% of revenue or less being contributed. Acquisition strategy. We came to market with a buy and build. We've done 4 acquisitions there, 2 freight forwarders, and 2 logistics. Import services being the latest. Their results will start coming through in the second half of the year. That's down in Southampton. I went to see that quite recently. Huge operation, very professionally run, excellent acquisition. And we talk about integration and integration risk there. We'll learn as much from them, I think, as we'll be teaching them. But we got all the operators together, and they've been kind of working together, and you can see buying power and cross-learning there. So again, hopefully that comes through. And there's also some synergies that will be realised, probably not this half, but next half. The acquisition strategy is quite simply, there's a huge pipeline. We're inundated with offers for companies. We'll be disciplined around that, but it's primarily to fill in the geographic jigsaw where we're not strong or haven't got a presence, or in air and sea transport. We need to build those up as well. They're slightly higher margin businesses traditionally, but that'll probably be reflected in the price and the way we structure the deal. The deals have been structured around a mixture of cash, earn-out, and share price appreciation to date. Again, these are the type of markets we're operating in. Unfortunately, the UK is the lowest one there, but 30% of our business is there, 70% is elsewhere. So we're operating, I think, in good markets as well. Stephen, again, I won't labour the point, but we believe Brexit is an opportunity for us. So that's my bit, and I'll invite Stephen to continue.
Cheers, thanks. So we're well positioned for growth. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we like to think we know what we're doing. So we have a strong presence in Eastern Europe. We've got a great team. Sean's been with me since '91. I recruited Don, who runs Affinity, in 2002. Denor's been with us for about 15, 16 years. Michael Grange is our CIO. He's ex-Tesco's, and he's also COO e-commerce. You'll see that later on in the presentation, the people that we have. So we've got a strong board. I think we've got, in the Xpediator board, we've got 4 chartered accountants, so hopefully we get our figures okay, and 1 banker. So we have a strong board. We're asset light, so as an asset light model, we can scale this up quite nicely. So we're very confident in our ability to deliver. We have delivered, and we'll carry on delivering. So we're positioned well for growth. Brexit. I always get asked this. How's it going to affect you? So for us, Brexit, we think it's an opportunity to make money. So as Stuart was saying, years ago, it used to take about 10 days to cross all the borders to go from the UK to Romania and backwards. We could get the drivers out there pretty quick because they liked going down there. They were kings with a lot of money in their pockets. Getting them out was a bit more difficult. And they always blamed it on the borders. Without any borders, you can do it in about 3-4 days. So if we have a situation where there's any paperwork at all on a hard Brexit, if we go to WTO rules, any sort of process or paperwork, we'll be there to do it. We have customs badges in Dover, Southampton, Felixstowe and Heathrow. So we do customs clearances. If there's any of that, we make money. As a group, as Stuart said, 2/3 of our activity is on the continent. So whereas the UK PLC may be exiting, we're not. 2/3 of our activity is still within Europe. So, so anybody's concerned about Brexit, for us, we will make money. So that's not a problem. I'll just talk you through the 4 divisions which were in that circle. So we started off freight forwarding, 1988, moving textiles between Belgium and the UK. I used to run the subsidiary of a Dutch forwarding company, so that's where I learned it, back in the 80s. And as an asset-light model, you just arrange things from A to B. Predominantly the business has been in European road freight, in those high margin areas, but we will be looking, as Stuart says, we're looking at acquisitions in the air and sea activity. So we want to, I'm 63, so I haven't got time to build it up organically. I'd like to buy the air capability and the sea capability. You want to have some scale to be able to negotiate with the airlines and get the right rate. We've got, it says 10,000 customers on there because this is an old slide where we had to verify it for listing. We've probably got over 15,000 customers. So a lot of those we can offer air and sea, a lot of cross-selling. So the acquisition of ISL got us in at the port. So if Brexit happens and we put the shutters up, we're an island, product is going to come into the country through the ports or the airports. So we're there. So we'll be expanding our capability at Southampton with another 20,000 square metres. So that'll give us 60,000 square metres at the port. So growth opportunities, yes, right. E-commerce, which I talk about quite a lot. So we've got Michael, ex-Tesco's, COO. We have two main areas there. eShop WeDrop, which is facilitating cross-border purchasing. So somebody in Lithuania can go online and buy product from Poland, Germany, Italy, UK, Spain, America, and we'll have Hong Kong on shortly. And they buy as though they were living in the country. So they give their number, eShop WeDrop number 1234, I live in Braintree. So the product will get delivered by the e-commerce providers to our warehouse. A lot of the e-commerce providers will deliver within country for free. So our customer in Lithuania, it comes to our warehouse, we weigh it, cube it, scan it, take a picture of it, send it to him. That B2C activity then goes on the back of our B2B activity. We're sending trailers anyway to Lithuania. Sling some parcels on. Now we sling on 16 pallets of stuff. So it's grown, so we're moving about 5,000 parcels a week into Lithuania to our customers. And going into the warehouse, it's interesting to see the products we have going in there. Coming up to Christmas time, tins of Quality Street. We see a lot of nappies, sanitary things. And there's a play there where in Lithuania you pay VAT on some of those things. In the UK you don't pay VAT on sanitary things, children's clothing or safety goods. So people are buying. There's a huge activity in cross-border trading, not just between all countries. So we want to have our share of that market, and we're doing it in a slightly different way. We're approaching the customers, going towards the e-commerce retailers. Our Regional Express business, we acquired that because we are hoping that is a key to unlocking support from Amazon. So I go into the warehouse and 20-25% of the parcels that have been delivered into us for eShop are for Amazon. So we're going to be looking to make offers to Amazon to do their transportation, and that will take us to potential eShop WeDrop customers. So we will deliver the parcels and we'll say, why don't you try us for buying from ASOS, Sports Direct, etc., etc. So we bought it for that. But what Regional Express actually does is, and we bought this last November just before the Chancellor stood up and said, we've got to clamp down on people doing VAT registrations properly. That was the best November we've ever had. It was fantastic. And so it does VAT registrations. So we outsource our marketing to a company called Amazon in Seattle. They have a team of 40, 50 people who are selling to their 30,000 customers in America. Why don't you try the UK? So they say, well, we're not really sure about the UK, the VATs and everything. And they say, well, go to Regional Express. They'll take care of your VAT registrations for you. They'll take care of your quarterly returns, and also they'll organise the transportation for you. So Regional Express now has over 1,000 plus American customers. So quite useful that, and I've been pushing to try and get Amazon support on eShop WeDrop. And I was at a meeting about three months ago in Amazon in Luxembourg, and what we also do for Regional Express is we do the returns. So when something comes out and Amazon say, get your stuff out of our warehouse, Regional Express will deal with it for the Americans. And we do that very efficiently. So 3 months ago, Amazon asked us, can you do the same thing for China? And Eric bravely said, yes, we can. And I said, well, what are the volumes? So the guy goes onto his laptop and says, what, about 34 million units last year? I thought, right, okay. And how many units per consignment? 32.8. So I said, oh, right, that's 1 million consignments. Interesting. So we are now taking a 20,000 square foot warehouse in Southampton to handle the returns for China. So I saw an email about a week ago, we've got the first 1,000 customers coming on. So that's quite a useful bit of business for us on e-commerce. I was in China 2 weeks ago, and we have another e-commerce project, which is called Xpediator, which is S-E-E-D-E-R. So the Chinese company who's doing it has got 70% of the shares in a UK company which we're going to set up. We were doing the logistics, warehousing, transportation, and what that project will be is a platform which controls stock worldwide for e-commerce platforms. So we will go to the customer and say, right, we can take care of selling your product worldwide for you on e-commerce platforms and control all your stock. So I'll push something out on that fairly soon on that. Transport services, as Stuart was saying, we've got 1,700 truckers running 13,000 vehicles. So some of those truckers also supply us with trucks on our freight forwarding side. So the average size of our customers got 7 trucks. They don't have the buying power. We've been running that since 2002, representing DKV on the fuel cards. We do cross-channel ferries. The big expansion area for us on this, which is, I'm getting really excited about this, is to build up leasing. So we know every year, out of the 13,000 vehicles, we're supplying new cars with new registrations on it, 800 to 1,000 vehicles, because the vehicles get changed. We want to provide finance when that comes up. And we've been looking at this for a long time. What we need is, we need the strong backing of somebody who's got a lot of money. We don't want to bring the leases onto our balance sheet. We like to make margin on everything we do. And we think we might just about have found the right people to do it with, so that's going to be terrifically exciting. When the customer takes a lease, we're going to say to them, right, we want you to have a proper insurance policy, not with Azerom in Romania, who will never pay out on a claim. But don't worry about it, we have Affinity Insurances, which is backed by Lloyd's. So this could be a great growth area for us. Logistics and warehousing, mainly based in Romania and the UK. Palex is a palletized network. So in the UK, you see Palletways, Palletline, Palex, TPN. There's 8 big networks in the UK. We have the one and only network in Romania. We started it in 2012, budgeted to lose 400, we lost 380. We have 46,000 pallets in that first month of 2012. Merged with a competitor, who we then bought out in 2015. But since April 13, it's been positive. We've gone through the break-even point. Last month, we moved 58,000 pallets in the month and made a 6-figure profit in euros on that division. The ability to deliver the whole country within 24 hours means we are now pushing heavily back into contract logistics. So any logistics service provider can run a big shed and move full loads from A to B. Not everybody can deliver small and 1 or 2 pallets around the country within 24 hours. Massive commercial advantage for us. In the UK, our warehouse is all e-commerce. It's been a problem for us in the past, but we converted it into e-commerce warehouse. And I'm pleased to say that's going to make a profit this year. Yay. And that's all about e-commerce. So we've got companies that we've got Key Australia, sunglasses. We've got Morphe, which is cosmetics. We've got Amara Living, which is home furnishings things. We've got a lot of textiles in there as well. And today I was showing Zimmerman around. They're an Australian designer company. So that's that. And that's the senior management that we have. All very experienced. Stuart's the newest recruit, but a fantastic background with 3i and private equity, building companies. He's going to be great to work with, building up, doing M&A. He's 1 week into the job, and we're off to Estonia to see the thing that he came with after a week. I won't go into the details of what he came with 3 weeks after that one, but that's equally exciting. So watch this page and see what we deliver. So I think that's it. Questions?
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Stuart. Stephen? Okay, we've got time for a couple of questions. Gentleman at the back here, please, Chris.
Thank you. Fascinating presentation. I noticed you mentioned acquisitions a few times,
Yep.
and I suspect from the sort of companies you're acquiring, there's probably a lot of intangibles involved in the price you're paying. Are you envisaging issuing shares for them or using cash or borrowings?
Well, as Stuart said, we don't have much in the way of debt at the moment. So we've been traipsing around the city and we've been talking to banks. We will put a reasonable level of debt in there, 1.5 times EBITDA, something like that. So we will issue paper as well on some of these acquisitions. But they're all going to be enhancing the value. So we're very strategic how we'll be doing the deals.
My other thought was about if you had 70% of your business in mainland Europe, I assume you're billing in euros to those customers, or is it in sterling? So do you get any exchange rate benefits? If
we have a lot of currency backwards and forwards in euros, sterling, dollars. So but 65% of what we do is within Europe. Lithuania to Germany, Bulgaria to Spain. So we cover all the countries.
Any other questions? Gentleman at the front, please.
I have a question on the margins. I was looking at DSV, which I believe is sort of like closer competitor.
Yeah, they're a little bit bigger than us. Yeah.
So their net margins are like 5-6%.
Yeah.
Do you think we can? Is it because of because of scale, or is it automation, or why the reason?
Well, the industry average is around about 4. So they are doing quite well at 5. They've been very acquisitive. So I haven't really studied them, to be quite honest. I mean, we do compete with them. But we have some areas of our business which will put up our margins. So you will see some of those increasing. So our financial services side, our affinity side, if we succeed as we hope we can do in terms of building up the leasing and the insurance, that would be a huge area of profit growth for us. That will push up our margins because that's just a margin play.
The other thing you mentioned was asset-light nature of the business and easy to scale it up.
Yep.
And looking at Landstar, which is a States company, and then they have sort of a platform where they match the truckers with the customers by using technology.
Yes.
Do you think in the future there could be something similar in Europe, which could come in and take over?
Yeah, we need to be on that page. Interestingly, I had a Goldman Sachs report 2 years ago, which I said, guys, that's the page you need to get onto. The e-forwarding is coming. A lot of money is going into e-forwarding in America, and we need to be on that page. So we need to simplify it. So the example I give to my guys is years ago, the older people in the room will remember ringing up the travel agent, can you book me a ticket from London to Paris? And you'd make the phone call, and then they said, well, I'll ring you back in 10 minutes. He'd make some calls, come back and say, well, you can have this one, or this one. And you say, right, okay, give me 5 minutes, I'll ring you back. And now you don't do that. You go online and you do it all yourself. So this is very similar to where we have to go as an industry. So what we have is we have the forwarders in between. So a customer will ring up and he'll say, I need a truck from London to Bucharest. And the forwarder will say, well, give me 10 minutes, I'll come back to you and I'll work it out for you. We need to make that seamless. In a way, we need to take out the forwarder. So we need to computerise all that. And you de-skill it. So sometimes in overseas countries, some of the forwarders think they own the business. And they're in between. So they do all sorts of deals with the truckers. So the truckers will go to them and say, right, okay, I need a load. And the guy will say, right, okay, he's a good guy. So we have a system which we're putting in place where we grade the truckers according to how good they are and what their service levels are. And so the list will be there 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 in terms of the truckers. So what we want to get to is the customer goes online to book the truck. That needs to be computerised all the way through. So you take out the subjectivity of the forwarder, you don't have the forwarder in between. So you want to get to a situation where the office is working 24/7, the cleaner makes sure that all the sockets are still working and the electricity is still going. And if you can do that, you take out a great big wodge of overhead. So that's where we need to get to. And to do that, we're investing a lot of money into IT. Hence, we got Michael Granger as CIO, and we're saying, right, that's the page we need to get onto, and that's how we'll drive up our margins.
Do you think like other competitors, bigger ones, DSV and Kone and in Switzerland, they're bigger resources? So
yeah. Listen, they've got to be able to get onto that page. This Goldman Sachs report said that if Kuehne + Nagel tried to work on the same margins as the e-forwarders, they wouldn't make any money. So they have that problem. We all have that problem. So the companies that are going to survive are those that are acknowledging that problem. The smaller companies will not survive. So what we can do is we can snap up a lot of these smaller companies, maybe at good prices. But we have to be on that IT and e-forwarding page. So we're very mindful of that.
Lovely.
Good question, though.
Very good question. But unfortunately, we are now out of time.
Okay.
Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening.